Well, hey fans, welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Spoilers, and today we're talking spoilers for Miss Marvel. So, Miss Marvel overall was an enjoyable MCU series on Disney Plus. I believe I gave it an average 3.9 out of 5 over on the website. Go over there and check out the full review. And part of the reason why I gave it just an average is because the 6-episode format I do not believe worked for this show. Once you reach the halfway mark, I feel like they crammed a lot of things in just to hurry up and finish up this season. Now, I do hope that Miss Marvel gets a season 2. I think it really deserves one. I love these characters, every last one of them, and I would like to see their story further explored after the Marvels, potentially before Secret Wars, however her adventure wraps up in that film. But to get into my breakdown of the show, what I'm going to start doing, I'm going to stop going over the entire beat of the show, plot by plot by plot. I'll kind of skim over it, but basically Kamala Khan, however you want to pronounce it, I think it's Kamala Khan. She receives a bangle from her grandmother that when she puts it on, she gets the powers to create hard light, which we later find out is Noor. That's what the people from her great-grandmother's dimension call it. And yeah, she gets the power to control this stuff. And it turns out in the comics, Miss Marvel is an Inhuman, and the Terrigen Mist comes in, and that's how she gets her powers. They changed that for this series. I'll get to that in a minute. But yes, she controls hard light, and she can stretch it, she can make it float, she can move, she can make platforms to run like Mario. And she's a big Captain Marvel fangirl. So she's idolizing this Avenger, so to speak, and like her cosplay costume is based off of her, and of course we later find out that her name is based off of her. We'll get more to that too. So, things I liked about this series. Iman Vellani as Kamala Khan / Miss Marvel. Fantastic casting. Just amazing casting. This girl has her entire future ahead of her. I cannot wait to see her return in the Marvels and in any other series she appears in. She's about the same age as Peter Parker in the MCU, I believe. They don't really explain where this is in the timeline. If it's after Spider-Man No Way Home, then they are within a year of each other. If it is before No Way Home, then it takes place during the blip. But I don't think it's during the blip because, yeah, it could be. Was Miss Marvel blipped? No, she wasn't blipped. So, yeah, I mean, could be during the blip. I'm not exactly sure. And I could probably look it up, but I don't feel like doing that. She gets these powers. She later finds out from these other people that her great-grandma was a djinn. And these people are djinns too. And she meets Cameron, who is also half djinn. And they don't explain who his father is, which is, I think, good because they could explain later in another season who his dad is. Clearly his dad is still in Europe somewhere. They're British and they escaped India, yada yada. But these djinn are supposed to be helping Kamala by having her use her powers to open up the portal to get back to the clandestine dimension. But it turns out all of a sudden, if they do that, it'll take over the whole world and destroy our universe or something like that. So they're made evil right away. So I'm what's going on with that? I don't understand why these characters had to turn evil within the same episode that they're introduced. And that's part of the reason why I didn't like the 6-episode format, and they should increase it. We just found out that Daredevil Born Again will be getting an 18-episode first season. So I think Miss Marvel, you could probably take it up to, I think 18 is a little too much, but 10 or 11, that's a good first season for a Disney Plus series. And I think they should switch to that. But yeah, so the clandestines, the djinn, whatever you want to call them, they turn out to be evil. And they try to basically force Kamala to use her powers, or they're going to take the bangle from her. And we have yet to see her use her powers without the bangle. So I don't know quite how that works. Maybe it'll change moving forward. And the bangle seems to be based off of the Negabands, which a Captain Marvel used in the comics. I'm not sure which one it was. It may have been Darbin or something like that. But in the comics, they allowed the user to teleport between the real world and the negative zone. And we kind of see her when she first puts it on. She rotates into the, I guess technically the clandestine dimension is what she does. So that could be the negative zone. which could also be the quantum zone or quantum realm. We'll find out more about how that all wraps together. I would like for them to actually be based in the quantum realm somewhat to help tie things together. But those bangles also allow her to travel through time. It turns out, like her grandmother mentions, that she got separated from her parents during the partition of India, and she was able to find her father by following a trail of stars. So at a certain point, Kamala gets transported back into the past, and when she does this, she creates the stars for her grandmother, who's a child at the time. So it's kind of like one of those self-fulfilling loops. It was always supposed to happen. Now, this is supposed to break time travel within the MCU, because if you go back in time and change something, then it creates a branch reality. But, and I thought this broke time travel as well, but she didn't change anything. She went back in time and made sure it happened. So by her doing that, it kept the timeline the same. Where if she had went back in time and saved her great grandmother Aisha's life, it would have created a branch reality. But she didn't do any of that. So I think it's allowed to stay. She didn't make enough wreckage to that timeline to make things different. So that's why that can stand. So don't have to fret about that. But turns out these bands also allow you to travel between space and time, i.e. time travel. And we'll get more into what happens with her and Captain Marvel at the end. But one of the things also I didn't like about this show is that at times it seemed cheap. There were times it seemed very cinematic and very like the budget was high, but then you have other times, like I think it's episode 4, where the clandestines break out of the cube, which is where they house all the supervillains. It looks like a TV show, like a network TV show. They're like in this one room, they break out very easily, and it's over. And they're like, you're like, come on, you guys could have did a little better than that. Another thing that's bad, the clandestines, when they die and they turn into skeletons, which is not explained, those skeletons look fake as hell. I didn't like that. That was cheesy. They should have just had them turn to dust or something like that. We didn't need to see their skeletons. But Cameron's mom is apparently allowed, like when she closes the portal with her powers, she sends her powers to Cameron, and he gains his powers to also project Noor. But he creates like these sharp, jagged shapes. It's not like how controlled Kamala's is. So we'll see how that works out later. And he finds out his mom is dead. There's this whole rift between them about, oh, Cameron, I love you, but your mom is dead, but she died saving you. She wanted to do it. And then he goes crazy, but he escapes, and somehow he's able to make it back to Pakistan to be with the Red Daggers. Now, these are interesting little kid heroes. I mean, it's like a whole group, but the one we meet is a kid. His name is Kareem, and Kareem, I guess they're kind of like superheroes, but it doesn't explain what they really do. All he does is wear like a red little face mask, and he throws daggers. And you would think he would have like a finite number of daggers. They're not made out of energy or anything. They do seem to be decently like strong. So we'll see if this kid shows up more in the future. Hopefully he gets some kind of better power. We don't really need a lot more of the melee superheroes, because like even Daredevil has a power. But I mean, we'll see where they turn up. But like Cameron and Kareem are gonna train together, and I guess he will help Cameron harness his powers. He'll turn into a version of himself more like in the comics, where he coats himself in Noor and makes like this strong light armor. So that would be pretty cool, and that's probably why they use the Noor for his power, because that makes him very like the comics, unlike Kamala, who's totally different from the comics. So going to Kamala's powers. In this, at the end, they make it clear that Kamala has a mutation in her DNA, thus making her a mutant instead of an inhuman. So no more inhuman powers for her. Is just a mutation, which apparently in the comics, the creators of Miss Marvel wanted her to be a mutant to begin with. But this was during the time where the X-Men rights were with Fox, and they wanted to promote the Inhumans as their new X-Men type character. So when they were creating this character for the comic, they said, no, make her an Inhuman. This is what we're moving forward with. So this is like good in the fact that, yes, the writers finally get to have the character that they wanted, but bad that it kind of dismisses the Inhumans as something nobody likes. But I do feel like with Black Bolt appearing in Multiverse of Madness that we will see Inhumans again at some point. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to do it. I think they're just going to change it so that Kamala's a mutant. So with her being a mutant, her mutant ability will probably be that she can control Noor. she can tap into another dimension to control these powers. And her mutation was awakened when she put on the bangle. And there are mutants who have powers like that as well. Scarlet Witch, who can control chaos energy and magic. She's a mutant. Her mutant ability is that she can control chaos magic. She's not innately a witch. They may change that for the MCU, but in the comics, that was her mutant ability, that she could control chaos energy to create spells and probability, things like that. You also have Nightcrawler, whose mutant ability that he could teleport, but what he did was actually travel through another dimension to get to somewhere else within our dimension. So there are a lot of mutants whose mutant ability is to just control some other form of energy or some other realm to affect our world. So that's not completely out of the realm of possibility here. And I think it is a fine thing to do to her. I mean, I'm not like a big Miss Marvel fan from the comics that I care that they changed her power somewhat. And, you know, a lot of people are like, well, they just changed it because they're doing Mr. Fantastic and she's way too similar to Mr. Fantastic. I don't think that's the case, because you have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they're going to have Stinger or Stature, whatever she goes by. They all have the same powers. You have Hawkeye and New Hawkeye. They have the exact same powers. The Winter Soldier and Captain America and U.S. Agent, they basically all have the same powers. So it's not a whole they have the same powers thing. I think this is really a change they wanted to make for that character, specifically for the MCU. And like I said, that's fine by me. So moving forward, this character, she saves the day at the end, and her father tells her that her name, Kamala, in their native language, Kamal means like wonder or marvel, and you're our little Miss Marvel. And she's like, oh, I love that name. And she basically chooses that as her superhero name. And that was a really sweet moment between her and her dad, and just having her family basically choose her hero name. And it's not like she is choosing the name Miss Marvel because, ooh, I love Captain Marvel so much, I'm going to be Little Miss Marvel. It's the fact that that's what my name means, and that's why my parents chose my name. So it makes it better for me, at least, that it's not an idolization of a hero why she chose her name, but it's a family meaning. And it's just also cool that, okay, there's also Captain Marvel, who also has this name. Which leads me to also to believe, in the Marvels, I feel like you changed the name of that movie from Captain Marvel 2 to the Marvels, because each character will have Marvel in their name. You'll have Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and then of course, Monica Rambeau, I believe, will be the MCU version of Blue Marvel, because Blue Marvel, I think, was like her father in the comics or something like that. They were close somehow. Maybe they dated or something like that. But either way, I think her superhero alias should be Blue Marvel, and that's why they're the Marvels. And even if she doesn't go by Blue Marvel in the movie, I think like when Miss Marvel says, I'm Miss Marvel, and Captain Marvel says, I'm Captain Marvel, I think somebody says, so who are you, like Blue Marvel? Because like she's glowing blue or something like that. I think that would be funny to me. But yes, overall, like if you really like the Marvel series, I think this is one to check out. It's fun for adults and kids. It's great for those who practice Islam. The way they go into their culture in terms of like their family life, the language that they use, the mosque that they go to, is just overall a great introspective view into that society. And there's even a character, one of her best friends, Nakia, which just I think is interesting that she has the same name as the Black Panther character. I like that. I like that. Okay, it's not like everybody has these weird names that they've never heard of before. But like, she's apparently mixed. She's like half white, half Pakistani, I believe. And she was not raised Muslim, but she has chosen to follow this religion because it feels right to her. And she said when she grew up, you know, some people said I was too white to be Pakistani, or I was too brown to be white, and she finally kind of feels like she has a place where she belongs. Bruno, I like his relationship with Miss Marvel. The only thing I don't like about him is they make him like ridiculously smart. He's way too smart to have figured out all this stuff about her powers and her mutation on his own. Without them like making him, they don't make him like a Peter Parker type character. They say yes, he's smart and he invents things, but I don't think we spend enough time with him to realize exactly how smart he is. And if he's supposed to be like this Shuri, Peter Parker, Tony Stark, Dominique Williams type of character, I think they should have spent more time on that. Also, the fact that he's at this Circle Q store, it seems like all by himself. He apparently lives with his aunt Nona or something like that, but we never see any adult figure around him, not even when he gets into Caltech. Like, I feel like we should have spent more time on all of these characters in more episodes to get to understand them better. And that would have made for just a totally better season moving forward. It would just be really great for them to have done that. But overall, my thoughts. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I want a longer season. I want a season 2, and I can't wait to see Iman Vellani back as Miss Marvel in the Marvels and whatever else they use her in. It will be interesting to see how they use Miss Marvel in whatever their upcoming X-Men projects are. If she will spend time at the X-Mansion or get to meet some members of the X-Men. I doubt she will become a member of that team because that's just not what it is in the comics. But I feel like she would be great friends with Jubilee, and because their powers are kind of similar, and that should be actually the team up that we get coming up here in Phase 7 or whatever, is Miss Marvel and Jubilee, the Miss Marvel and Jubilee show. But that is it for me, guys. Remember, you can view this spoiler review on YouTube and the blog, flipfrogllc.com/flixfrog. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. And please, pretty please, everybody, hey, come here, listen. Make sure that you subscribe. Yes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, everything. Make sure you like, comment, and share. The next Let's Talk Spoilers will be Zack Snyder's Justice League. I didn't do this when it came out, and I really feel like I should have. So I think I'm going to do that next, and until next time, I'll be seeing you.